for quite a few Aussies, and so it is an international event. And as you roll in, if you haven't already, again, just introduce yourself and feel free to use the chat pod as we go along. I'll keep half an eye on things. I am in presenter mode, but I've just noticed there, I'll have the little label popping up once in a while, letting me know when people are shouting out. So I will try. So Moodle in the cloud, I guess in terms of where we're headed, we've got plenty of time, probably more than we need. So we will be able to surface. This is the roadmap for the next hour or so. There's been a lot of hype about cloud, this thing called cloud, I guess, buzz. This is an opportunity for us to explore it as educators. What does it mean for us in the context of Moodle, using Moodle, most likely version 2 or later? And to tap into the benefits of this new feature called repositories. I guess it's the Moodle repository plugins in particular. I guess we need some sort of appreciation, firstly, of what the cloud is and how we enable and configure it for our Moodle sites so our teachers and students can benefit. In essence, what it does, this new function provides an interface in Moodle. It makes it easier for us to share content and media from third parties. So beyond the, I guess, the initial explanation, there will be a demonstration, and ideally, we'll try and make that hands-on, as in live and interactive, and get you doing questions and answers at the end, but feel free to chat as I notice it. I'll try and. I guess as a starting point, perhaps ask yourself this. We could launch a poll, but I think the response would be fairly obvious. Google Docs, YouTube, and Flickr, they're 3 examples of cloud-based sites or services. Just ask yourself, perhaps, which of those sites have you used this? Fairly accurate to assume that most of us, all of the above from Steph. And if you want to type something just very quickly in the chat window there, if I give you 30 seconds to do so, if it's, you might want to say 2 from 3, 1 from 3, or none of the above, if that's you. It might just those sites or services. I can certainly say I've used Docs and YouTube, if not on a daily basis, certainly weekly. Flickr to a lesser extent, and probably not this. Yep, I'll try and speak up a little bit. I'll just move myself closer to the mic, and perhaps if you can as well, thanks as those responses through. Perhaps at your end as well. Again, audio in is one thing, audio out is another. So you might want to also look at adjusting the volume at your end on your headset or your speakers. Okay, so a lot of people saying YouTube, quite popular, and that's rolling through there. Talking perhaps on behalf of their students as well. So all of the above from Steve. This notion of, it flows into cloud computing. I guess the idea that sites such as Google Docs, YouTube, and Flickr, they're cloud-based services, they're highly popular, and the data and the applications, the software, if you like, is stored on the internet. It's not on our local computer. Notion of the cloud. Computing delivered as a service, where shared resources, software information provided to user devices via the internet. I've bolded the key concepts there within this notion. So cloud is the perfect metaphor for the internet. In fact, it's often used to depict the internet in computer network diagrams, if you're that way inclined. And you've probably heard of SaaS, SaaS, software as a service. So the notion that software is a service and it's no longer a product. It's not necessarily a disk in a box on a shelf. Service, much like the electricity grid, something that may be physical or tangible, but in a more abstract sense, you tap into the So with the cloud, it's a distributed computing model. Resources, information, data, they may be shared across multiple computing devices. So there's obvious benefits there for us as users. We can reduce our operational costs. We increase scalability of our networks and our infrastructure, our architectures, and we improve data redundancy as well. We're not locked in. I've knocked up this pretty picture of what might represent the cloud and various objects there within it. Applications, information, and services. So things such as documents, spreadsheets, presentations, email, calendar, contacts, multimedia. They're just some examples of perhaps the elements that represent cloud-based systems and services. They're built upon internet-based technologies and infrastructures. We as users, so we're in the diagram as well of this concept. We send and receive information to and from the cloud via various computing devices. That could be computers or laptops, smartphones, tablets. So, I mean, we could drop Moodle in the middle of that cloud as well, and that's very well where it could sit. And again, the users, Moodle sits up in the cloud of the internet via various web-enabled devices. So, as we know, bound by time or place with online learning and training, learning management systems in the 21st century. And on the same token, these devices mobilise the end users, so we're not bound. Computer or a laptop, we can be mobile on the go with cell phones, tablet devices, and so forth. So as the conversation moves forward, and Stefan, and we certainly did. No longer, I guess it's a new paradigm, isn't it, with teaching and learning? We're not bound by time or place. So it's sort of learning by anyone, anywhere, at any time about anything. It's got to be the new mantra. So the conversation moves forward, I guess, from the cloud. If we want to sort of dovetail into Moodle and Moodle repositories. Repositories, as I mentioned, it's a new feature for Moodle version 2. It came out early 2011. So if you're using Moodle 1.9 or 1.8, unfortunately, you won't have access to the repositories plugin. You'll need to upgrade. Perhaps this session gives you. But the repositories is how Moodle connects to cloud-based services in a nutshell. Users are no longer limited to basic file uploads from their computer or local network or a drive 2.0, whole new realm of possibility. The key prerequisite here, though, is that you or your system administrator has enabled and configured the repositories for Moodle in the global settings. We'll look at that in a short while, so that you know what you need to do when you go away, or you know how to explain it to your system administrator so they can make it happen in your Moodle. As far as sharing content and media goes in Moodle 2, there's a new metaphor. It's the file picker. And the file picker is what we use to share courses, if you like. 3 options. We can insert images, insert media, or attach files. So more or less any digital image, any audio or video file, documents, presentations, much as we could do previously, I guess in 1.9, Moodle 1.9 or earlier, but in a more streamlined and the best news is you can do it just about anywhere now in Moodle. Share your files, user profiles, forum posts, quizzes, blogs, wikis, etc. It's a lot easier to do with this file picker or the new and improved HTML editor, as we'll see shortly. As far as the repository plugins go for Moodle, there's several of them. We're not limited to the ones on this slide here. As a matter of fact, the idea with repositories architecture is very open, and Moodle's got the API available for other systems and services to hook into it. So these on the slide are I guess the default or the standard repository plugins that are good to go with Moodle out of the box, but that list could certainly be expanded. Alfresco is a content management system. Amazon, BoxNet, and Dropbox are storage solutions. Casa are photo sharing services. Google Docs is for online sharing documents, presentations, spreadsheets, so forth. Wikimedia is a sister project of Wikipedia, and it's multimedia, web-based multimedia library, sharing millions of objects under Creative Commons license. Likely to be aware is the world's most popular video sharing service. Okay, so they're all examples. I would again hazard a guess, an educated guess, that each of us uses a lot more of those sites or services, perhaps not just in our data personal lives, but our professional lives as well as educators. So we can harness or tap into the power of the cloud for the benefit of what we're doing in our Moodles. Worth mentioning as well, I guess those arrows are pointing inward, so it's all about pulling or sharing or importing content and media from these various sites. But the arrows can point the other way. If you're familiar with Moodle 2 and you're using the portfolio plugins, you're able to, in fact, push or export content and media from Moodle to these sites or services. So be aware of that as well. Perhaps that's presented session on portfolios. Okay, I reckon it's time to demonstrate. As I said, I'll perhaps show you a few things initially and explain. I'll hand over to you and give you a little bit of time to might in fact come out of presenter mode altogether, so I can get a better handle on what's right. So what I will do, again, just sliding. I'll just confirm that's come through. So you should be getting my browser coming through on your screen. Okay, now I've just logged myself into a local test instance of Moodle. It's just a plain vanilla. Matter of fact, reason I'm in here as opposed to the iMoot site for the moment is I've got full admin access here, and I will be able to show you what you need to do or what you need to ask your system to do back to the office to ensure you've enabled and configured don't have that level of capability or permission in the iMoot site. So look, I'm logged into Moodle 2. Again, appreciate the feedback too along the way. Great. Devices and resolutions, and what I see isn't necessarily what you're getting. So keep feedback, and I appreciate that. Not just with the video, with the audio as well. Okay, so look, logged in on the front page in the settings block. Repositories. So we're here now with repositories. Now, manage repositories. This will show us which are enabled and visible. By default, I believe the top 4 will be enabled and visible. Okay, so server files, recent files, uploader file, and private files. Those repositories are good to go in the box. Okay. The others that I guess we alluded to there, Google Docs, Wikimedia, YouTube, etc., need to be turned on. Okay. This is in fact where it would be disabled. So the idea would be enable it and make it visible. Now, in the case of Amazon S3, I don't in fact use Amazon S3, but if that was a repository that you did plug in for Moodle and you did have an account, it would be a case of accessing that third-party site and generating a set of keys, so public and a private key. Vector fields here, save, and then objects or elements or resources that you had in that third. That's in essence as complicated as it would get. Really does depend on. Some of these simply need to be enabled and made. Docs, I believe Google Docs is like that. Wikimedia and YouTube, but others such as Flickr, Fresco, Amazon, they will require keys that need to be generated. I might give you an example of how that works. Say I disable public, just to step you through this from the get-go. Now, we'll come back in with Flickr public, enable it and make it visible. Now, Julian, your audio's just cut in. Are you going to say something? Look, for Flickr, it's asked us here, get a Flickr API key for your Moodle site. So I've just clicked the link. Bear in mind, to generate keys on these third-party cloud-based sites, you will need a login, be it for Flickr or Amazon. Get another key. This is what's involved. So, commercial or non-commercial, let's say non-commercial key. Asks us, what are we building? So we'll just tell this third-party site in a few words. Agree to their terms and conditions. What it gives us is a set of keys. Copy them in this page. Public one, in fact, we only need one key. I'll drop that in there. Save. The other Flickr plugin, we would, in that, copied both the private and the careful of that when you do copy them. All right, I'm going to toggle away from my local test instance. I think you get an appreciation of what's involved in terms of configuring. Move the order up and down as well. And what the order then does, it affects, I guess, the sequence that these plugins are displayed in the file picker when you and your users are importing content. If at any stage you had to generate new keys or change the settings, revisit a new key, or you wanted to name your way from here. I've found my way into I'm going to just quickly demonstrate what I'd like you to have a go at doing in a short while, and then I'll hand over to you, and I'll sit back and observe for a little while, and perhaps what we've had to say in the chat area. If you haven't already, perhaps in the meantime you want to find your way or ensure you're situated in our iMoot course. So what we will do when we come in a short while is find our way to the open session. I'll start a new discussion topic. This will be the third thread in this open. Subject will be titled, let's say, Hello World. I will simply say something like, this is my first so you can put in text. Again, as I said, we'll be able to tap into repositories in a lot of places, not just in discussion forums, but your user profiles, in blogs, wikis, glossaries. And anywhere you're going to see this HTML editor, which you know follows you wherever you go through Moodle. HTML editor, by the way, if you're not using Moodle 2. Two icons we're interested in. Now, the first is this, I guess it's a tree. Insert an image. Two along from that, it's a film strip looking icon. Both let us tap into. And then thirdly, down here, at least in the case of discussion forums, maybe some other places through Moodle, where we can add, we can browse. Files in that way. So look, I'll demonstrate the three options and then you can have a go. So we'll insert an image. I'll place my cursor just beneath the text in the renew the image URL. We can type it in directly and we can include a description. What we will do is find or upload an image. This is a little bit tricky. It doesn't look like a button, but it's a really big button here where it says find or upload image. So we click that. And then we're presented with a new window. This again is new to Moodle. File picker is the new metaphor for sharing content. Use your four suspects on by default are server files, recent files, upload, and private files. And then we've got the other repository plugins that we've enabled and configured. In the case of the iMoot site, it looks like Flickr has file sharing areas. But they could be for document, local area network, or a shared network. That's very. So look, I'll say Flickr public by way of example. Keyword search, photo sharing site. Golf images. it will help if your search is a very specific one. You've got a better chance of finding the content or the media that you are. In my case, I asked Flickr a very general question, and I got. I'll select this image here. I can choose to either provide an external link to that image or select the file and import or copy it, copy a version. I guess the consideration here, I should preface what we're doing with the fact that somebody owns this content or media, and if it's not us, it's fair to presume that we have the author express permission to use it. Licensing such as Creative Commons. So we've got a preview of the image here. We've included a description. I'll just type something there. Golf. Appearance-wise, we go to the next tab across the top, and if you wanted, you could set the alignment. That embeds itself within this post. I'll just hit the cursor directly after the image. I'll hit return. It's the same thing, but this time I'm going to dialogue here in this window is a little bit different. Find or upload a sound, video, or applet. So not going to be we select that big button and we get the file picker again, but the options are different. Okay? I don't see Flickr, but in this case we see. So we select YouTube, and then it would be a case of searching. The more specific you search, the better. And I'm just going to do a very general. Top 10 luckiest shots in golf. I like the sound of that. If I select it, if I wasn't the author, it's probably in your best interest to find out who. Commons or public domain, or you are the author or have the express permission of the author, and it's all rights reserved. Well, I guess if we're going to use repositories plugin, it's in your best interest and the best interest of your users to understand wait for one moment, pretend that I'm well grounded in the rules of and course of copyright and licensing. So we select this file and we get a preview. What we see here, again in the message window back in the discussion forum, isn't the player and the video itself at this stage. We just see the text, but I can assure you, save this in a moment, that the video will be there. I'll just traverse down to the attachment section before we post. Another option in terms of pulling. Add. We're limited here, by the way, in this case to a file. We could choose files from various places. Upload a file as we did previously in earlier versions of Moodle. Browse your computer or your local area network or a USB drive, for example, and select a file and upload it. In this case, Google Docs has been enabled and configured, and we could select a file based on the presumption that you have a Docs, and I believe I log in ready. We'll select a file, I think is under B. The author, choose the licensing as appropriate. Creates, I believe, in the case of GDocs, creates a copy or version of that file in Moodle. Okay, in this case, that I mean, if you were, for example, in Google Docs to edit that document, file, or presentation, those changes aren't reflected in versions. Perhaps Julian or someone else who is an authority on that can confirm or otherwise in the chat area. What I'll do is post a forum. So we've got the text-based area of the content, with image embedded, video, and the file. I've shown you perhaps 3 options as far as plugging into repositories is concerned. And as I said, you could do this more or less anywhere across Moodle 2. Activate the file picker, or where you can add files. And you've got, I suppose, like the browse button, blogs, wikis, quizzes, user profiles, etc. Right, I'm going to stop, I guess, sharing thoroughly and invite you to find your way discussion forum in our iMood course, and try and insert an image, insert a video or a sound from Flickr or YouTube. Attach a file in Google Docs as I demonstrated just there before. If I give you 5 or 10 minutes to do that, and I'm going to observe and keep an eye on that window and see how we go. I'll just stop sharing my screen, and I'm again mindful you might be on dual monitors or a big widescreen display, so you're probably appreciating getting some real estate back. Thanks, Julian, for as far as I can see there in terms of display. Tom? Stephen's exactly right. Well, pardon me, he posed a question. Uploading the file does not link to the cloud resource, it downloads it. To my knowledge, it's more or less a copy or a version of the file, be it from GDocs or Flickr or Wikimedia. Got the same object living in 2 locations. The only exception to that rule, from what I demonstrated there before, would be YouTube, where the video is being embedded in a player within a Moodle page, for example. Stephen's made a comment, which is curious, that search function doesn't really get you what you're looking for. I won't disagree with that. I've found myself perhaps browsing YouTube repositories function within Moodle. Not always a case of hitting the bullseye target when you're keyword searching for a resource, a piece of content or media. It does definitely help to know what you're looking for. So, sort of multiple model keywords as part of for chiming in there. Going to, as you're doing that, have a bit of a running commentary. You'll be able to see who's doing what as it's unfolding without me needing to even first cab off the rank. I'm reckoning that is the Great Ocean Road, southeastern Australia, for those who aren't locals. Take that yourself, Stephen. Obviously, you've got a great camera and you're pretty useful. It's the 12 apostles. There's only about 7 or 8 left, isn't there? They've sort of crumbled and eroded over time. Great image. Good job. I'm going to just, at least for the next few minutes, keep refreshing my screen. And again, I'd encourage all of the attendees to have a go at this in real time, as opposed to sort of sitting back. Have a go with this if you can. Again, just sort of reiterating what we need to do. iMoot. In fact, copy a direct link to the thread where I'd like you to place the link in the chat pod. Perhaps give you, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Regroup and happy to take Stefan commenting there again in terms of in terms of search. I'm presuming that's what she means, Stefan. Yes, searching directly from sites like YouTube and Flickr. Media that you need to I'm going to have to move on if no one's going to post to the forum. We'll have to demonstrate other things. I'd rather see you get your hands dirty with this. Opportunity if I give you perhaps a few more minutes to find your way to. Posted the link in pod and have a go at a little bit nervous, or you might even be a Moodle first-time user. I can respect that. If you're happy to sit back, or you just want to use the comments or ask a question along the way, that's totally fine as well. That's fine, Simi. If you've posted as a reply to another post, not a worry. It didn't have to be studying your own discussion topic. Well done, Liz. You found it so easy. And I think that's the idea behind it. With Moodle, improved accessibility, better usability, and just being able to do more things in less clicks. And that's the idea behind the repositories plugin, and just making it easier for us as Moodle users. Copy content and media from third-party cloud-based sites and services into be a bit more specific in terms of the error that you got there. Valid callback URL. Julian or Leonie, any thoughts on that? And it's good to see you getting your hands dirty here. I'm just refreshing my screen and looking at this thread. Well done, Liz. Ian, that is excellent. Dennis fan, Clay Court, and Stephen again. Up on the same problem with the private Flickr. Obviously, there's a bit of a flag there for us in the sense that something's not quite right with the configuration, and it's likely private key or keys. I don't have the level of access needed to troubleshoot that on the fly, but that would be the issue. If that comes up for you when the occasion presents itself, you know to go and you might need to do, and sometimes this is an issue the moment you embed media, be it an image, in a player within a Moodle page, you might not see what you just I need to refresh your screen. So just try that and see if it makes a difference. Lynn, if you can be a little more specific in terms of what was where are you as far as our iMood session course? Last session. In terms of uploading files, I believe there's a 500 KB limit. Bear that in mind. If Helen, if the file you're trying to import into our iMood space is larger than 500 KB, it might not have been uploaded successfully. No worries, Lynn. Share block. Nothing's being shared. So I'm just again finding my way back to our discussion space, and I'll drop it in there again for us. Stephen's asked a good question in terms of can YouTube search results be modified to display things such as my knowledge, no, the search function fairly rudimentary. So to keyword search. But that would be a really good feature request. Tracker.moodle.org. The developers would appreciate that. If you've got a good idea or a suggestion in terms of how to make Moodle software better, the more specific you can be, the better. Built team, I'm not sure who that is, but some great images of fish. They look rather prehistoric. Browsing the various discussion topics. He's put in image. Running from the clouds. Some really there and meta as well. Meta response. And Simi's exactly right in terms of just responding to Lynn. Lynn, if you're a little bit confused, I've stopped sharing my screen momentarily just to give each of the attendees a little bit more real estate to do something. So what we are doing, if you joined us a bit late, of course, and just getting hands-on with some of the Moodle repositories, going to a discussion forum, image, video, Stefan, can you elaborate a bit more in terms of what you're saying there? Getting rid of YouTube ads like this, so it's buzzquietube.com. Quite sure what you mean. Yeah, and an add-on from what Stephen was saying. Ads can be a little bit annoying. You should find ways to monetize the side of the service because it's getting millions and billions of eyeballs. They don't quite have a business. Wasn't familiar with QuieTube, so it's it. No worries, Stefan. You're forgiven. It's slow typing on the iPad. Welcome to the club. What a Bluetooth keyboard makes a hell of a difference on an iPad. Question posed there by Stephen. Do we know of any schools using cloud type services for file storage, Google Docs, Flickr, and so forth? Well, I believe in terms of the first party question there's definitely schools in Australia who are attacking Docs or the Microsoft equivalent, where it's cloud-based file and resource storage and sharing. And it would then be a case of those schools having a Moodle site version 2 or later to tap in. Certainly happening in general terms in schools without giving any specific. What I'm going to do, and I'm mindful of time, we've been going for close on an hour. I reckon in 7 minutes I can show you a couple more things by my screen share, and then I'm going to hand back to you. That I'm pushing my screen to you. All right. So thanks, Julian. And I'm mindful we've got 30 minutes, plenty of time, and I doubt we're going to need it. Definitely the Australian way as well. So look, I'm on sharing my screen with you. Back on the course page, I'll show you in terms of now with this repositories plugin functionality, you've got the ability to import or share content media from a variety of sources, more or less anywhere you go in Moodle. So by that, I'll show you page through the eyes of a teacher. So you won't be able to, if I turn editing on, you'll be able to do this, however, back on your Moodle site. On my way down the screen a little bit. A resource. Get this file name. Repo. Repo is in short for repository. We would put in the description. Now, you've got your HTML editor. Naturally, you could insert an image or a video here, but to insert an image or a video into the description file might be appropriate. Not the place to. What we're likely to do is come down to the content section. That is when we get this file picker window. Server files, recent files, upload a file from our computer, private files. If you're not familiar with that function, in Moodle 2, you've got the ability to save files in Moodle privately, save them up for a rainy day, and you decide when you want to share them, either on the teacher or maybe through the eyes of a student. Perhaps you've got a private file you want to attach to an assignment submission, etc. Google Docs, Flickr, etc. So we could, from any of those locations, Docs, appropriate. It might be a document, a presentation, piece of media I've got permission to use. I select the file. Maximum file size was a gigabyte. I could have uploaded something else. That's the new process for bringing your files or files you got permission to share. File resources, right? Page, source. Kind of, as you would know it, the web page resource function from earlier, on steroids, if you like. So we could say good. Other locations here as well, session graphics. Whereas the other third-party sites or services, there's something here, I guess, in a shared. I'll select that. And I'll insert it. Here, there is indeed. Large this is. plugin is required. I guess you've got to bear that in mind as well with these various media types in terms of the compatibility for other, not just browser compatibility, but we're talking about plugin file formats that are very universal. So, save and display. Let's see how this got text, we've got an image, and we've got a neat little player within a Moodle page. Loading or buffering, it looks like. So that's file and page resources, repositories. Where else, just to give you a quick appreciation, perhaps without labouring the point too greatly, go to our user profiles block, and I've got my doc to the left side there. If you want to observe, that's completely okay. Edit profile. Here, and the description field of the user profile is a good place for you if you want to tap into user profile page. Perhaps you've got a little introductory video just introducing yourself, or those lines, like an audio or visual biography, 60 seconds or less, that you want. Useful way to personalize web-based learning. That's the user profile page. I'm just clicking steps. Naturally, in a label, much like we did with a file resource or a page, we could use a label and have an image or a video displaying plugin. It's the same way we've demonstrated already. As I said, glossaries, databases, wikis, again, quizzes all have this level of functionality. If you see a letter, that you can do what we've just been doing. Where else? Blogs, same. Out of the blog entry, you can see your editor, those two functions. Stop sharing my screen at this point and just keep a close eye for a couple of minutes on the chat area. Resources related to this session have been shared, including some links going directly to these third-party sites and services. If you want to learn more about Alfresco, it's a very good standard. Yes. Dropbox, Foxnet, you might be familiar with or using already. Wikimedia, as I said, is a good way to use multimedia objects, the Creative Commons, breaching copyright. NASA, YouTube, Google Docs, and so forth. Okay, I think we're going to round things up in the next minute or so. If you've got a question or a comment, please drop it in the thank you for your time. I hope it's been beneficial. You've got something you've got something to go away by in your Moodle if you're not already. I always enjoy these sessions. I learn a lot too. The way you're using Moodle.org, if not in person. Happy Moodling.
Hello everybody, sorry to jump in there on the end here. It's Julian here from the iMoot team. Look, while these questions are still coming through, and please feel free, I obviously just want to do a big thank you to Chad before everybody disappears. Again, some fantastic features. Obviously you've got everybody very excited about the potentials there for the Moodle 2. So look, again, thank you for coming. It's presentations like yours that make iMoot. If it was here and no presenters, we wouldn't have much at all. So yeah, thank you very much for coming. Thank you attendees, and our next session will be starting in about 25 minutes.